is Music on Fire 10. I'm coming with a book review today. So the name of this book is Be Careful What You Pray For. It's written by Kimberla Lawson Roby and was a New York Times bestseller. It was chosen to be the book of choice for my last book club that I used to be a part of, that I was actually the leader of. It was kicked to the curb, and I'm not going to tell you why. You have to read my article about it. So, guys, this book, as I said, New York Times bestseller, so a lot of people love this book. It was really well written, and she does tell a very good story. But I had many issues with it because I'm not sure if we really need to be telling this story anymore, if this book needs to become a movie, because you know what happens with New York Times bestsellers. The books become movies and everybody sees it. What are we going to do about it if this book becomes a movie, or how is that going to teach us anything? So, my issue with this book, first of all, the young lady's name is Alicia Black. She's 23 years old, and she's already been divorced from a man who was 33 years old, so 10 years her senior. Now she's married to a new man who's also 33 years old, 10 years her senior. He's a pastor, just like her last husband and like her father. Her father tells her not to marry this man. No uncertain terms, don't marry this man. You cannot trust him. That turns out to be the truth because the man constantly cheats on her on a regular basis. I think by about the third chapter, he'd had sex with about 4 women, 3 who were not his wife. So, yeah, it's an issue because I think my biggest issue with it is that the man is supposed to be a leader. He's constantly going, lying to his wife, saying that he's going to Bible study when he's actually going out to have sex with a woman who is not his wife. He gets up on Sunday morning and preaches to a congregation who believes every word he says, when in actuality he has several women on the side. The way that he was able to build up his church so that it's so successful that he has so many members, especially wealthy members who donate money to his congregation on a regular basis, is because he was a pimp who prostituted several young women several years ago. And people don't know about this. One of his deacons actually found out because it was his sister who was one of the women who he was selling on the street. It's an issue because I feel like oftentimes we as a people blindly listen to people who do not have our best interests at heart, who are not on the straight and narrow, and who do not follow what they're saying. And that, okay, yes, we know that story, and she wrote it really well, but once we see it and once we read it, are we going to do something about it? I think that's what my biggest issue is. Are people going to read this and say, you know, I need to check out this person, this person, this person, and I know somebody who did this, so no, even though they went to jail, maybe they repented, I'm not going to go to their church anymore because this, and this. No, that's not usually what people do. Usually what seems to happen is, yes, the person goes to jail because they were caught, you know, doing mail fraud or something like that, and then they're back couple years later because people are saying they're forgiven. To me, personally, that's not right, because the person is going to do the same thing. You know they're going to do the same thing. It doesn't matter if they say that they have been forgiven. You've been forgiven, then you should sit in the congregation now as someone who actually is for the people and for helping them, not for just taking their money, as was J.T. Valentine in this book. We need to hold people to a higher standard. And I feel like with this book and many like them, which will go on to be on Lifetime and BET and other, TV One, other movie networks that we have, we're not being taught anything because this is a constant thing that we're doing. We're constantly thinking, okay, because this man does this, this, and this, and says this, he goes to church on Sunday, he must do this, this, and this. We're not holding people, especially our leaders, to a high enough standard. And I think, at least that's what I got from this book, and that's what I hope she's saying, but I don't think she's necessarily teaching that. I think she's just writing it, and it's about time that we stopped telling the story and learning from the story. So that's what my issue was with this book. I'm sure no one else has that issue because I usually look at things in a really off-the-wall and strange manner. I don't really think that's what anybody else got out of the book. People liked it, and there was another side to it. I just feel like there was kind of like a lot of gossip. We don't really need to be gossiping about anything anymore because that's not going to solve anything. So what are we going to do about this? I mean, we're always talking about how AIDS is of such a high amount, such a high percentage among Black women, yet we're writing books about men who have sex with 3 and 4 women at a time, all in the same day, and we don't hold them to a higher standard and let them know, okay, no, you are not able to be a part of this congregation anymore at all, especially not be the leader of it, because you were found doing this, this, and this. You know what I'm saying? Where you just kind of let it go and say that the person's been forgiven, when in actuality they have not. The things that this man did were atrocious. As I just said, he was prostituting women for years. No one knew about it, and that's how he funded his church. And he was planning to have an even bigger church later on, doing whatever he saw fit in order to get it, putting people's lives at risk, just anything. And that to me is just the most unspeakable wrong. So that's how I felt about this book. But like I said, I do find that she's a really great writer. She tells a wonderful story. And one of the things I liked most about the book was that Alicia, the main character, was actually a writer as well. So she'd written a book and she was on the verge of becoming published. At the end, I believe she did become published and her book was very successful. And she got back with her ex-husband, who was generally a pretty good individual, the type who, like, you know, visit members of his congregation when they were sick and in the hospital, that sort of thing, you know, type that people usually don't like because they always doing the right thing. But anyway, that was the book, and it does make you think, but I don't think it makes people think as deep as they should, which obviously is the fault of the reader, not the writer. When you read something, it's your responsibility. I'm supposed to take it in a certain context, but I don't believe that most people who read the book saw it in that way. They just kind of see the things he's doing like, man, this is awful, this is awful. Yes, we know it's awful, but if you knew somebody who was doing this, would you let the woman know? Would you put this man on blast? Or would you just keep going to church, maybe tithe a little more, hoping that things will get better? It's something to think about, and that's what I thought about this book. So see you all later.